Hi. The book I chose to do is It Just Happened by Don Tate and illustrated by Gregory Christie. The book follows the story of Bill Traylor. He was a slave during the time when slavery was legal and worked on a farm with his family in Alabama. Then come the time where slavery becomes illegal, his family decides to stay on the farm with their old masters and actually share the farm with them. As he grows up, he takes over the farm, gets married, has kids, but eventually it's time for him to move on. He reaches his 80s, so he's very old. Like I said, moves on and moves to Montgomery, Alabama. There he struggles to find work because of his old age and his hands. He has rheumatoid arthritis in his hands, so he can't use them anymore. There he kind of relives his past working on the farm as a slave and paints pictures. And this is his upbringing, kind of his story, reliving those pictures that today kind of portray him as an important self-taught folk artist in our time. So here is our cover page. Like I said, it just happened. And I'm going to do my best to fit this into the video. It's kind of a large book. So here we have our title page. It just happened. Okay. We have beautiful illustrations on each page. Like I said, I'll try to fit them in and show them each time. So let's get started. It was early summer in Montgomery, Alabama, 1939. On downtown Monroe Avenue, an elderly man sat on a wooden crate. With a board laid across his lap and the stub of a pencil grasped in his hands, he began to draw a picture on the back of his discarded laundry soap box. Who was this man, and what caused him to start drawing at the age of 85? His name was Bill Traylor, and if people asked him, he might have said, "It just come to me." So here's our second page. Back in the 1850s, George Hurtwell Traylor and his wife owned a cotton farm near Benton, Alabama. The Traylors also owned more than 20 slaves. Sometime during 1854, one of the enslaved families had a baby boy. He was given the name Bill. His last name became Traylor, the same as his master's. From the minute the sun lit the sky until it disappeared into the night, the slaves picked up cotton in the hot, dusty fields. When Bill was old enough, he was put to work too, pulling weeds, fetching water, and gathering wood. After he finished his chores, Bill sometimes met his friends at the bank of the Alabama River. They jumped into the cool water and waved at the steamboats passing by. Without realizing it, Bill saved up memories at these times deep inside himself. When the Civil War ended in 1865, the slaves were freed. Many people left their former masters, but Bill's family chose to stay on their Traylor's land. They worked as sharecroppers, farming and sharing their crops and profits with the people who once enslaved them. Even though the war was over, Northern soldiers continued to burn many Southern farms, villages, and towns. Young Bill and his family watched in horror as the Traylor's farm, equipment, and animals were destroyed. Bill's family managed to survive unhurt. They rebuilt their home and continued to work on the land for many years. Bill saved up memories of these times deep inside himself. At this point, I'd probably ask the class, why do they think the North is continuing to attack the South? By 1881, Bill was a grown man, a hard-working farmer. He married a young woman named Larissa, and they lived in a small cabin by the creek. Soon their home was filled with a brood of hungry children. Money was scarce. "You can't have that building over there full of money," Bill once said, "but you couldn't eat it." So everyone, even the littlest child, worked on the farm to grow the food they needed to fill their bellies. Bill saved up memories of these times deep inside. Here's the picture. Bill had many animals, including a mule that helped him complete his chores. But sometimes that mule turned stubborn when Bill approached it with his plow. The minute he sees a plow, he starts swinging back. "Gets that pride from his mama," Bill said, annoyed that the mule refused to work. The animals on the farm also amused Bill. He chuckled as he watched them go about their business. Chickens strutted in the yard with confidence. Cats tiptoed across rooftops with grace. Snakes slithered through brush, always up to no good. Some animals even had personalities that reminded Bill of people he knew. Bill saved up these memories deep inside. So what do you think Bill is saving those memories for? Maybe something in the future? Come Saturday night, the men danced to the tune of the fiddle while the women sang up a storm. Children ran back and forth, snapping their fingers to the beat of the music. Even owls in the trees bobbed their heads to the music. After the festivities, the men took their dogs and went hunting and fishing until late into the night. The next day, Bill roasted sweet potatoes and whatever he had caught and served them up for dinner. Sunday morning, folks gathered alongside the riverbank. Under the shade of tall trees, they formed a circle around the preacher and listened to his message in song. With praises of joy, they clapped and raised their hands to the sky. Bill saved up these memories deep inside. You got the people dancing all night long. Bill spent a lifetime on the trailer's land. By 1935, he was 81 years old, way up in age and all by himself. "My white folks had died and my children scattered," Bill said. His wife had died too. With the people he was close to gone, Bill had no reason to stay on the farm. He packed his bags and headed to the nearby city of Montgomery. So there's Bill walking away from the farm. Finding a job in the city wasn't easy. Bill had never learned to read or write, and his work on the farm hadn't prepared him for city life. Eventually, he found employment at a shoe factory, but Bill developed painful rheumatism in his joints. Before long, he was forced to quit his job. Rheumatism is where your hands can't quite work as well, and it's very painful. For a while, Bill sold pencils provided to him by the U.S. government. He didn't make much money, and he soon became homeless. During the day, he wandered through downtown Montgomery. It was an exciting place to be. People bustled along, going in and out of markets, shops, and restaurants. Automobiles and horse-drawn buggies rumbled through the streets. Can you imagine seeing horse-drawn buggies riding through the town these days? It'd be a sight to see. All night, Bill slept on sidewalks, in doorways, or in alleyways until the owners of the Ross Clayton Funeral Home befriended him. They offered Bill a place to sleep in the storage room of their business. He piled a bundle of rags on top of a wooden pallet, and there among the caskets, Bill rested his tired body. As he lay in the storage room all night, Bill was overcome with loneliness. He missed his friends, his family, his animals. Deep inside, he found all those saved-up memories of earlier times. Remember when he was keeping all those memories as he grew up? He's now kind of going back and thinking about those. There he is, sleeping in the funeral home. Bill could not contain his memories. One day in early 1939, he picked up the stub of a pencil and a piece of discarded paper and began to pour out his memories and pictures. Bill's first drawings were simple items: cats, cups, shoes, baskets. Then he began to draw human and animal forms too. He used the side of a stick to rule straight lines and shapes. Rectangles became bodies. Circles became heads and lines. Lines became outstretched arms, hands, and legs. He filled in shapes with sketchy lines and smoothed out edges. The sidewalk of Monroe Avenue became Bill's art studio. A wooden crate was his artist's bench. Scrap cardboard and old paper cartons were the canvases on which he drew the pictures. And the clang, clang, clang from the nearby blacksmith shop provided background music for Bill while he worked. So remember earlier when he couldn't even read or write, here he is teaching himself how to draw with whatever he could find lying around. Folks of all ages came to watch Bill work. One of his admirers taught Bill to write his name. Soon he was proudly signing his drawings. Bill often hung his pictures on a nearby fence. When passersby asked questions about his drawings, Bill didn't mind. He could be quite talkative, but if he was focused on his work, he offered no conversation at all. On a summer morning in 1939, a young artist named Charles Shannon caught sight of Bill sitting on a crate drawing. Charles was intrigued as he watched Bill's hands make its mark, then filled them in. Bill's pictures danced with rhythm unlike any drawing Charles had ever seen. So there's Bill just drawing. And over here we have Charles meeting Bill for the first time. Charles began visiting Bill regularly and wanted to support his work. He bought Bill art supplies, colored pencils and paintbrushes, poster paints, and high-quality paper. But Bill liked to do things his own way. He used the colored pencils in some of the paints, but he continued to work on the backs of discarded bags, signs, and cardboard boxes. Bill's hands were steady and confident. He was not concerned about messing up, as he almost never erased. When painting, he favored a rich, spare palette of colors, deep blues, bright reds, sunny yellows, and earthy browns. He used paint straight from the jar and rarely mixed colors together. So his pictures were very brightly colored, kind of like this book, if you could see it. You can tell it's definitely something he just loves to do. He's not too worried about what anybody else thinks of him, which is good. Soon, Bill moved to a shady spot on North Lawrence Street. There, he continued to pour out his memories, often drawing until late in the day. He drew wide-eyed owls, a big red dog, and fighting cats. He sketched spotted snakes and hunters on horseback. Sometimes Bill talked about his pictures. "I want to be plowing so bad today, I'd draw me a man plowing," he said. "Bird on top of a basket, and he don't know it," Bill joked about one of his humorous pictures. He also drew the people he saw on the streets of Montgomery. Men in tall hats and women in patterned dresses, folks walking dogs, and a man with a crutch. He drew the blacksmith shop and blacksmithing tools arranged in rows. When people paid him a few cents for one of his pictures, Bill was amused. "Sometimes they buy him when they don't even need him," he remarks. So here he is, just drawn, like I said, for the, spilling out his memories, doing it because that's what he wants to do, and people are starting to want to buy them because they like him so much. Charles Shannon, remember him? He'd come to watch Bill paint a couple times. So admired Bill's work that he arranged for a show of Bill's drawing and paintings. The exhibit, Bill Traylor's People's Artist, was held at the New South Art Gallery on February 12, 1940. About 100 of Bill's work hung from the walls of the gallery. Bill moved slowly from picture to picture without saying much. Finally, he pointed his cane at one of the paintings and said, "This old horse, he fat. But this poor old skinny mule here, he done work all his life." None of Bill's art sold that day, but that didn't bother Bill. Money was not the motivation behind his drawings. Bill drew pictures for himself to enjoy the saved-up memories of his life. He didn't know his pictures would bring enjoyment to others, but without realizing it, Bill Traylor shared his memories with the world. And there we have a little bit talking about afterwards, about Bill's life, but that is it. So here I probably talk with the class about what they're thinking, how they could see themselves possibly be drawing by themselves, and then afterwards as an activity I have them go off separately and draw and talk about a certain time in their life from a memory that they held in their head, and then we would discuss it. The book itself, it's a little longer, so grade level probably need to be a little higher, probably grade 3 plus, I would think. It's just so that they can understand it. The wording's a little more advanced for anybody younger than that. But otherwise, very good book. I chose it because it was something I had never heard of. I'd never heard of Bill Traylor. He is obviously an important figure with his artwork, and especially learning by himself, teaching himself. So that's why I chose it, and I'm glad I bought it because it's real good. So thanks.